live in 1 minute.
We're going to turn the cool music off.
Cool music went on.
I think it's still there.
Oh, it's
Or
just
maybe
changing
not.
songs.
The disc changer.
I think it's off.
All right.
That was like really well timed to when you said that. That's creepy a little bit.
I
You
have
had
that
kind of
effect on
power.
people. Cooks. Did you be all right to turn that fan off? Just
Yes.
Oh, good idea.
I agree.
now it's like that part in what was that movie where they went to Mars?
You're gonna have to narrow it down.
Mars.
Yeah, there it is.
And they were like on a vacation in their mind, but they weren't sure.
Total Recall?
Total Recall.
Oh.
Remember the part when they turned the air off and all the mutants were like dying?
Yes.
That's what
We're about to die.
That's what it was like when that fan went off.
All right, 20 seconds. We're live in 20 seconds.
Okay. I know. Anna's on top of things with this. Are you gonna do like the
Yes.
real television? Okay, well, it sounds like we already have a captive audience, so we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Josh. I'm going to be your host for the next few minutes. How many people have been to a 1 Million Cups event before? Most, but definitely not everybody. Okay, so welcome. A few quick notes about 1 Million Cups is it's a program by the Kauffman Foundation. The basic idea, reason it's called 1 Million Cups is if you were to take a million entrepreneurs, give them a cup of coffee all at the same time across the United States, co-locate them, amazing things will happen. But more specifically, it's a program for pitching. So across more than 150 communities throughout the United States, founders get 6 minutes to pitch, followed by 20 minutes of Q&A from you, from their peers, from mentors, and from related people. It's all about getting to a better pitch, right? That's the whole point, is about building pitch culture and getting a better pitch. So that's why we're all here this morning. More specifically, we meet every Wednesday between 9 and 10 a.m. We actually rotate here in Sacramento with which places we're doing. Today right here in COA, which I'm going to come back to in a bit. Next week we're at the Metro Chamber, which is just around the corner from here. I'll remind you about that at the end, but there's your little reminder right now. We are led by this intrepid team of individuals, many of whom are in the room here, including myself, but also Laura and Anna and Cameron, and that's it. But there are others, as you can see here, including some of our coaches. We're an all-volunteer team. We don't get money to do any of this. The program doesn't get any money to do any of this. So we're just all here because it's fun. But we, in addition to us, we also need a space that we can gather. Today we're here in COA campus, who's sponsoring the place and the coffee. Since we're in a brand new location this time, I think it would be helpful for a couple of words on COA. Tell us what y'all are doing here.
So, has anybody been to the previous location? Alright, so it's pretty much half of you guys. So we relocated from that location to this one. This is the new, more boutique space. What's happened, even though we've shrunk, we're going to be actually doing more targeted work. So you probably saw from here that we've got, so do you want to mind that for 1 second? Co-working, it's boutique co-working, so we're doing boutique co-working for 20 members, and then we've got 6 dedicated desks. We're going to be focusing on workshops, on cool, like dedicated workshops on building your brand, how to get funding, etc., etc. And the main thing that we're going to be focused on is an accelerator program that we're going to bring out next year. So we're going to open an application most likely in October this year, and we're going to release an accelerator where we're going to pretty much fund 1 or 2 lucky startup, 100,000 coming 2020. So there'll be more information on the website on that in the next month or so, so you guys can check that out. We're not officially open yet. We've got another month out that we're going to do a launch, so you're going to pretty much hear about us very soon. And we make sure that we keep everyone posted. You all filled out your emails, so I'll make sure I'll put you all on the list. If you get any questions, let me know. Like I said, it's only boutique for 20. We've got about 12 spots that have already been filled up. So if that's something that you want to do, then please do let me know, and I can speak to you afterwards. Yeah, brilliant. And shout out to Laura and 1 million guys.
Thank you, Koa. Okay, well that's basically it. We want to get right into the pitches, but we're going to do something a little bit new. So for those of you who've been here before, this is new. For those of you where this is your first time, this is just as new. We have an app. There's a 1 Million Cups app that's out that we can use to not only connect together as a community, but it also allows us to do two things which are important to us. One is track our attendance. We want to see how many people show up each time, how many come back over time, and just kind of keep a gauge on that. So that's one purpose for it. The second that's really important is that it also gives you a mechanism to give us feedback. Not only us, but also the Upstream Kauffman Foundation, so we can constantly improve this program. So I'm going to remind you at the end, but if you open up your App Store or your Play Store and just search for the numeral 1 MC or 1 Million Cups, you'll get the app on there, and then you can connect through, and there's a little big button at the top, or at the bottom, excuse me, that says check-in, and you can just tap that, and it just records you as having been here, which is great, and you'll see like a nice feedback button that you can use to give us whatever your thoughts are. So we'd really appreciate it if you do that. We'll remind you at the end, since at this point in our conversation, you have absolutely no buy-in whatsoever to do that, but we're going to prove the value of 1 million cups over the next hour. All right? Okay. So that's that. Ordinarily, we'd hear 2 pitches from startups. Due to the holidays and everything, we have 1 and a fun activity. So how many of you have actually pitched at a 1 Million Cups before? Okay, almost nobody here. All right, so the rest of you will get your due, I assure you. We're going to show you how easy it is by first listening to our first presenter and asking hopefully some challenging questions. That's the reason we're all here. That's the reason they're here presenting, is to get those tough questions from you before they get them from a venture capital group or an angel investor. It's better to come from us. And then we'll do a little brief little activity where we all get to know who's in the room here, and you'll see that it's really easy to do a pitch. So without further ado then, just a little legal note here. There's no investment happening. This is all just for educational purposes. Okay. So, Rod, come on up. Rod first pitched this idea. I've heard it before at Startup Weekend just a few weeks ago. So I'm really anxious to see how much you've pivoted and changed since then. Everybody? Rod.
Thank you, Rod.
Can you all read that? I know in the back you might not be able to, so maybe I'll read the quote for you, because it's a compelling quote. Each senior is very creative. Each has their own art. There is no perfection in art, but everyone is an artist. This whole concept of Zinder is an everyone concept, and the person who shared it as a part of market research for Zinder. Her name is Olga, and we met her at the Arden Fair Mall. So Zinder is something that addresses the problem in our society of disconnection and isolation. When I think about my grandparents and my parents, they lived a healthy life as older adults by doing things like baking, gardening, caring for horses, playing and listening to music. That's true for people today. All those things you can still do as an older adult today. But now the playing field is wide open to every type of activity you could ever dream of. Bowling centers, places you can go to bowl, have resurged because boomers like to bowl. And there's the whole phenomenon of pickleball. Has anybody here played pickleball? So 3 of us in the audience have played pickleball. Pickleball, whoever dreamed that great game could be developed, it's because of boomers. But I want to talk about Mary, give you one quick story. Mary worked for over 40 years at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. And when she retired, getting ready for retirement, her husband passed away unexpectedly right around the same time. And at that time, her kids lived on the East Coast going to school, and they're still on the East Coast. So she lives in a local senior assisted living facility. I met her at my previous job. And she loves to do 2 things: make puzzles and go for Kaiser walks, so like intentional planned hikes around Sacramento. And I've done both with her. The problem that I see and the urge that she has to give back to the community is unfulfilled, which leads to her isolation because she doesn't have connections with people in the community. And I've seen her interact with younger people. I've seen her interact with older people. As long as you don't mess with her puzzle, she'll like you. So, and she loves going with hikes with anybody. Like anybody in this room, if you met up with her, she'd say, "Hey, let's go for a walk. Let's go for a hike." So the main problem is we have all this technology, and there's thousands or millions of Marys out there in the world, and they're disconnected, they're isolated. And I believe that as human beings, we should do something to address that. So we believe that there's the potential for a safe, secure, happy, and healthy social network. And I do believe that now is the time to actually make that happen. And I'll show you how we believe we can do that. So the Zinder ecosystem, we got flipped around here, but that's in the magic of converting from one application to Google, so I'll read the things that are sideways. So we believe that something as simple as the Tinder app, that's why, in a way, why we use the name Zinder. So if you're an older adult, you have your phone and you see a local event to go to, maybe it's a mahjong class or a ukulele class, you see it and you swipe right, you're actually putting it in your calendar. If you swipe left, it goes to the trash, you don't see it again, and then another event pops up. Or somebody who has a similar affinity as you based on the profile that you set up with Zinder, they might pop up into your feed for right in your phone. So social good, digital tools, high-powered digital people creating an algorithm. Those are all the things that are in this slide. I'm going to go to the next slide because it's making me dizzy. So this is the social network, and our key opportunity is to partner with a local senior living facility or network of facilities so that we can create an application for their special activities at their facilities, and then in doing so, provide Mary with the tools on her own device that would connect her to the Zinder social network, the safe and happy social network. So the key to this whole connected system is the startup with a local healthcare system or a local entity like Eschaton. Does that all make sense to everybody? So you create the application, actually have tablets in the assisted living or senior living facility where people can go and check, see what today's activities are or what Friday's activities are. And then they sign up for Zinder and they get their updates on their own device and they're part of the network. So our market, we have rental community residents age 45 to 64 in just Sacramento, 124,000 people, 3 million in California. Over the age of 65, there are 77,000 people that are in Sacramento and 1.75 million in California. Those numbers aren't static, that's just a snapshot, they're growing. So the market for this type of social network is growing. So sustainability and an intergenerational challenge. One of our team members, Trong, is an entrepreneur and he has a local brewing company. That's an example of one of the things that we could share on Zinder. He has classes that teaches people how to use his new 5-day create your own beer system, which who knew you could make beer in 5 days? Well, he's developed the technology to do that. So this is sort of the pillars of what we're talking about with Zinder: community, partners, customer, and environmental causes. And this quote at the bottom from C.S. Lewis is basically, you're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream, which inspires me every day because I feel like now is the time. We have our phones, we have all of our own favorite apps, we have our favorite social networks, and most of our social networks, in my opinion, have let us down and haven't really provided the things that we really want in life. So why can't we bring something new and a new social network that people actually love and that is healthy? So our go-to-market plan with the founders, and one of our founders is in the room, or two, Osato is over there. So you'll meet some of the people who have come up with this idea. We want to do it together ourselves and find that first partner and just sort of grow it organically. And then in year 2, look for investment to grow and expand beyond the Sacramento network. And then year 3, take it even farther with sales and some key advertisers. In the market research that we've done, we know that in certain pockets where There are a lot of older adults, people that provide services and business to those older adults. They want to advertise with us already. They've caught the vision for this and they want us to move forward. So we have all these values that we've talked about. There are some partners here with logos. We believe entities like Hands-On Sacramento, the Impact Foundry, will be natural partners for us to provide content for the social network, those good, healthy activities that are in the local community to connect people to. And then Sutter, Kaiser, Dignity Health, other key partners. When we analyze the competition, Facebook always comes to the forefront. I believe that Instagram, for a lot of other people, is where they get their events and where they buy things. So that's a potential competitor, along with Eventbrite for local events, and then Meetup. And I thought 10 years ago that Meetup no longer existed, and then I realized about a year ago that it's actually used by a lot of people. It's still a very active network. I generally, for myself, I use LinkedIn and I use Instagram primarily as the two things that I use. The revenue is sort of here at the bottom. We've talked about direct sales of related products. That's the management system for senior living. I talked briefly about advertisers.
Are you timing?
We'll wrap up with our team in under the 6 minutes. So we represent 6 different countries, and we came together over a weekend, and we still are passionate about Zinder. So what do you guys think about Zinder, the safe, secure, happy, and healthy social network?
Okay, I suppose the honor of the first question always comes to us, and we always ask the same thing, which you hinted at here, but I'm asking you for a more specific version. So we're not here to invest in this, but you still came here and pitched. So how can we in the audience here help you?
I'll ask Asato for help too, because I always like to have I still feel like we're a team, but my answer to that is connections. If you know somebody who's a decision maker at one of the key places that we talked about, Escatan, Kaiser, Sutter Health, all we need is that one key one-on-one meeting to pitch this idea, and if they want to take it further, we've got the people that can actually build the application and then in concert build the social network. Okay. So at this stage, it's all about connections and meeting people.
Right, we open it up to questions from everyone.
Yes, in the back.
Early on, you mentioned you're doing some market research. You talked about senior living facilities, and you're sharing events. But I know in these senior living facilities, people who live there aren't very mobile. They're not necessarily able to travel across town or to a different county in order to attend an event. And I'm wondering how much value this can provide those people.
What's really, I appreciate the question immensely, because we've done this a couple times, and the passion that comes from the room related to older adults, I can sort of sense that from you. I would answer that question is in the way like Sherry, she's mobile. And most of the people that are living in either independent living or even some assisted living facilities, they're a lot more mobile than all of us would assume. And I'll give you a real simple vignette. I know a woman who is 96 years old, she lives in assisted living, so during the day she has nursing care and meals. She's never in her room. She's always at a coffee shop with friends. She's going out to dinner with friends, going out to the movies. Her social calendar is 5 times busier than mine, and she's 50 years older than I am. So other questions that we got that are similar, people would say, well, older adults don't know how to use a smartphone, or they don't have a tablet, or there's a whole list of reasons why this would be a challenge. And that actually energizes me, because I know that the majority of boomers are mobile still, and they are able to use a smartphone. If those two things are true, this has a lot of legs, and it could really take off. And in addition to that, I think the numbers, the statistics actually are favorable in terms of the health and wellness and abilities of our eldest generation currently. And you could probably draw a line at 80 years old. My dad is 82, and he doesn't even use email anymore. He did for a long time, but he basically stopped. So I think something, if you're not really active and really healthy in a lot of different ways, some of those kind of things sort of fall off as you hit your 80s or 90s. But I believe there's a lot of opportunity despite that fact. So Laura, you first.
So my parents are in their 80s and they do use smartphones and computers and tablets. So is your plan to be accessible from all those platforms?
Yes.
Also, it's going to take a few years for acceptance, and the older people are going to die and the younger people are going to get older. There was just a couple articles in the Bee about the graying population in the Sacramento region. So it should actually, how many people might use your service should be growing. I also saw some statistics about the smartphone adoption in older people, and it's growing at a huge rate year over year.
Yep.
So I know a lot of people think that there aren't old people who use technology, but a lot of those old people are the ones who created it.
Right. Good point. All good points. What's really exciting about what you're sharing, I think about how Zinder could really help in that environment. If there's that many people that use it, and there are people that are somewhat isolated and alone, isn't it the purpose of a social network to meet people and to find activities to be healthier? Go out to dinner with a friend, get a coupon for a good restaurant, go to listen to music.
And word of mouth, knowing their friends are using it might be a reason why they might get connected.
Yeah, and that's our plan, is to sort of do it organically. Maybe start with a senior living facility, get everybody there to download it and to use it, and then to expand from there.
And what's that Neil Patrick Harris device that he's in the commercials for? Is it Google or Amazon has like a big screen where you can just like start talking to people? That's totally targeted at older generations. So I don't know if there's a way, whatever that technology is, if you can use that as a tablet as well. I don't really know.
Good point. Greta?
So maybe to address the mobility, which actually is probably one of the factors that leads to isolation. Sacramento is a very connected city, and very few people actually use the available transportation. So you see the paratransit buses all the time driving around with nobody in them. It would be a really good partnership to partner with the different transportation providers and do something like hotel.com, where there are 3 available seats on this bus that's going to the grocery store. Who wants to go? There's 4 available shuttles that are going to the Golden One Center to see whatever it is. If you had the ability to use this to sign up, you'd both maximize the use of the really great resources we have here and let people know. I don't think a lot of people know how many transportation services we have here that are underutilized. So maybe there's a partnership there.
That's a great idea. And when you just think of transportation, it's not just paratransit. It could be Uber, it could be Lyft, it could be Red Hawk Casino, the shuttles to Red Hawk, Thunder Valley Casino. All those are transportation-related things. Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yes, in the back?
I had 3 comments. The first one is, I think there's a group out of San Francisco that has a hack or pitch thing related to age. I think it's Age 2.0. And I think they have one coming up in the fall, but I've been to one of them, and this goes to your getting to the Escalon people, because half the people in the audience were from that facility, and so they have a lot of people there. So that's just one
Thank
thought.
you.
The second thought is that the Milken Institute has this thing on successful aging related to cities. And I think a lot of the stuff you're probably talking about hits some of their buttons, but it just may be a connection there that with them because they have a lot broader reach than you right now. And then the third one is that AARP has a local representative, local officer, and that would be someone that I would think you would be interested in talking with just because they have just an extensive network. So those are just 3 thoughts.
Yep, the last one's a natural partner, but thank you.
Exactly,
All 3 are great ideas. I appreciate that. Can I follow up with you afterwards to get them linked to the Milliken? Great. Can I close with another thought? I realized today, and I was going to change the intro to talk about an organization that I helped found 10 years ago. It's called I Matter Too, and it's a program. It's a mentoring program for guardian ad litem kids. So 10 years ago, I was focused on, with a friend, launching a nonprofit that helped kids. And 10 years later, what am I doing today? And it was sort of like it was that aha moment where like now is the time to wake up and care for the seniors who matter too, and the older adults who matter too. It's not just guardians and orphans, but people that are living alone anywhere. So I just thought I'd share that with everybody. So you all matter, everybody matters. Yes, Josh.
Okay, so you only touched on a really high level in the pitch. So I want you to go into more detail on the business model, on the financials. So I have that question is going to be in 2 parts. The first one is, how do you make money? I go into a little bit more detail on that. And the second side is, you said you're looking for connections to these facilities, and you said something about if we can just get one, ...
Mm-hmm.
So what is that pitch? So if somebody in here can connect you with somebody at Dignity or Sutter or Eschaton or whatever, right? If they get you in the room, what are you going to say, and how does that connect back to the financials?
Excellent. So I know, since I've worked at a senior living facility, that the social activities or the special activities manager job is usually high turnover, but also a doorway for people to find a career path, but also something that is really wonderful. But it's the big challenge is getting people out of their rooms to go to the activity. Say the local symphony is coming to the senior facility to be there. So I believe that the special activities Zinder app that we would build custom for that senior living facility would help draw people out. It would actually help fill rooms. It would help with their marketing because their residents would be happier because they would be more engaged with the activities that happen at the facility and also near the facility. So how we make money question is, we would charge for development of that app. So the first one allows us to build it, and when we build the social activities app, we would also build the social network part of it. So once we have that first one, we actually have the template, and we could easily build a second one for a second facility. So with Eschaton is such a big entity. If we did it for them, it would be for all of their facilities, which would be a pretty large contract. And that the pitch to them would be, we're going to help all of your special activities managers with a network, with an app that is yours. It could even be Eschaton branded, and you download the Eschaton app, and it has all the activities at each individual facility. And that type of app is not that expensive to build. Our designer and our developers have talked about that. It's basically, these days, not off the shelf, but there's a little bit of customization, and they could build that special activities manager for Eschaton. And depending on what Eschaton wants in the app, it would impact the cost to develop it. Okay. So in that meeting, we would determine what we would build for them and what the features of the Eschaton app would be.
So are you coming? So when you talked about Zinder in your whole pitch, you were definitely positioning yourselves as a platform and like a platform play, right? Something very sassy. But the pitch that you're making now sounds more like it's reminiscent of those reverse pitch type events where you're coming essentially as a dev shop, and so like you're saying, we can build this thing, let's talk about what you need, and then we'll like build this thing for you, which sounds like, particularly if you're going to a facility like Eschaton, they're just going to pivot to RFP, and then you're one out of 40 people like trying to pivot against the same thing. So is there a way that you can go into Eschaton say, we have this thing, here's some an interactive prototype, or here's some designs, or here's some whatever. Like, let me show you this thing. It's bitchin', right? And then use that to collect the pre-sales that actually fund the development of the platform over the life of the contract. Or does this have to be like something that you're going in to build custom for them? The reason, the flip side of that is that you just said that if you build it for one, you can build it for another, which doesn't sound like Zinder a platform. It sounds like Zinder a service like WordPress that you just go spin up instances for different people, which is a completely different business model, which brings me back to the first question that I asked, which is, how do you actually make money? Who are you charging for what, for when, for how much?
I always appreciate your feedback, Josh. So I believe that.
Thanks, Rod.
So going to your question, which is how to make money, it's going to be advertising. So going back to the big picture, sort of the bitchin' sexy Zinder model, the social network model, the new safe, secure, happy, and healthy social network. That is going to be advertising revenue. But we're trying to figure out because we know that building a social network and getting the users, that's a 3-year horizon. It's going to take time to do that. So we felt like the way to help sort of speed that up would be to have a partner to build an app for them that also would help us build the social network. So it's sort of like a strategic decision to try and to go that way to speed up the process. If that makes sense.
So a lot of what you've put out marketing-wise yet, which I know is very early days, it doesn't really say that this is for the aging population, but that's who you're targeting. And I wonder if by not having that in your marketing messaging when you talk about it, I think that's going to make it harder to reach your target market. And I wondered why you've kept it so general.
Really, really good question. The secret behind that is it's intentional. The concept of a safe, secure, happy, and healthy social network applies to everybody. We don't want to close the door to millennials or Gen Xers, because it really should draw all people. And it really goes back to Mary's story. If Mary enjoys doing puzzles with somebody, that somebody could be a 24-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 45-year-old. So we want Zinder to be built. Yes, it would be targeting seniors initially, because we need to target somebody. We can't target everybody. So the idea is to target the boomers and build it for them and build it based on the things that they want. And they've told us they want coupons, they want gardening tips, they want cooking tips, they want information on the local activities that are going on there in their community that nobody tells them about. That's what people are telling us. And if those things are all true, that the attractiveness of a network like that, I believe Gen Xers would be interested in that eventually.
Do you have marketing expertise on your team? Do you have someone who is a career marketing person?
No.
I think that you should consult with someone on that, because it's very advertising. When you're advertising to someone, you're looking at the persona of that particular person, and what can you put in, what can you say that will reach that person. And in the early days of launching a product, you're not going to get everyone. You might have to add people in stages. And I think if the boomers don't feel like this is designed for them, that it will be harder to get them to adopt it. So I would just suggest that you guys do some research on marketing strategy around that. We see a lot of startups, it's not uncommon to you, who believe everyone could use their product. And so initially that's the world they go after, or keep it very generic. But what happens is, it's like using the right bait when you're fishing to catch the kind of fish that you want. I don't know if you can fish, but that was a good analogy, huh? Or lure. So I would just recommend that you guys.
I agree completely. That's great feedback. Thank you.
So I'm just going to throw something at the wall here. Strong opinion, loosely held. But when I hear you talk about this, and like particularly when you're talking about the advertising play and the demo that you're going after, what really comes to mind for me is AARP. They are after what I think is that same exact group of people. They're hitting them with ads all the time, partnerships, that kind of thing. They're getting dollars for the benefits that you get from AARP. And so I'm wondering, have you guys thought about maybe some type of strategic partnership with AARP? Either like this could be something that you do for AARP that's a benefit for the members, which might be an interesting way for them to deliver additional services, or perhaps as a marketing or advertising play or something. Have you thought about anything like that?
Not until this morning, thanks to the question or the comment that happened earlier, but I think that rises to the top in terms of contacts and making a connection with somebody at AARP. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, and to follow on that vein, we do have, if you're doing like a public-private partnership, we have a Department of Aging that would probably be interested in some kind of thing like a services deal. Yeah.
Good point. So those two together, or even individually, could be great partners. AARP and the Department of Aging, and there's different departments of aging. They're regional.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little skeptic on the AARP. Just that they wouldn't fund you and help you at this point. I think you're going to have to be in beta, delta, gamma, whatever. You're going to have some traction, and that might be an early exit strategy. But I don't believe that at this point they would fund you. You could bring the idea to them. If they found value in it, then they might go have their own team, developers or something, or they may already be working on something like that. But I feel it's more like Twitter acquiring. Who did Twitter acquire? Facebook acquiring Instagram. Yeah. That Instagram had to have some traction first. You probably don't need as much traction as Instagram for someone like AARP or some other organization to see value in it. I just don't want to get your hopes up that the funding would be there. But I could be totally wrong too, because sometimes I am.
They're all good ideas, and I think following those leads and getting the leads will answer those questions. So I think anything that you guys offer like that is really interesting. I keep going back to, because I know how popular the Red Hawk bus is at the senior living facility that I worked at, and that bus was full every Monday and every Friday, and so why not pursue Red Hawk in terms of a sponsor, because that's,
or just ride the bus and get people to download the app while they're on the bus.
That's good market research.
Yeah, offer them $10 in free chips if they download the app.
Or free drinks on the way home.
Or a visor.
Last question.
Yes.
Do you think there's any risk of causing more feelings of isolation for certain individuals, the way Facebook and other social networks have that effect on certain individuals today?
I love that question, and it's the reason why we as a team got really, really excited for this idea, because we believe that if you build it the right way, if you build the social network the right way, that it will prevent that from happening. Because the whole purpose of the social network and the base level is to connect people. So when you log in for the first time, the profile is much more robust than you would use for, say, Facebook or Instagram. Think more Nextdoor, where does anybody use Nextdoor in here? So Nextdoor, when you log in, you have to verify your physical location. So there's a layer of security automatically, because you can't be a part of your community unless you prove that you're in that community. So we want to be that local, to have really that local community feel. So in your profile, first you prove that you live in a local community, and second, you share your passions in all these different areas, so that the algorithm will connect people that match multiple interests. And it could be like any age. You could be matching an 80-year-old with a 55-year-old in terms of matches. So we're going to intentionally try and connect people to break down those walls of isolation.
Last question.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to steal from you. So what kind of market validation have you done?
It has been, we were trained at the startup weekend with 4 interview questions, and it really, for me, it totally flipped my idea of doing an interview, like a market interview. And it's really, we've done a lot of listening, and the feedback that we have gotten has been all over the place, which is pretty much what you would expect. If you ask questions about what, if you really, based on your habits, what do you use your phone for? What apps do you use what social networks do you use? And people over the age of 55, it's so like narrow. It's all these narrow things. Like 2 people that we interviewed, all they do is they volunteer at their church. Their church has activities 3 or 4 days a week, and that's all they do. They're not really interested in anything else in the community. One woman said, and she lives in Stockton, I can't really see how I would use it, but I'd love to see this type of safe, happy social network for young parents, because in Stockton there's nothing other than going to the library and a few other activities. There's no free activities. All the healthy activities are $10 or $20 a ticket. I'd love to see this type of network for younger families.
Is that a sample size of
about 50? So
And
it's
I
not
would
very
ask younger
large.
families about that, rather than an older person telling you what a younger person needs.
That's a good point. So to answer your question, about 50, and the information, and we haven't learned enough, but based on that, I know that things like coupons and the notification system to remind them of different activities, they see those 2 things as being very beneficial for a social network.
Good job, man.
Thank you very much.